So today guys, I want to take you through 5 lessons that I've learned prepping for a powerlifting competition as a hybrid athlete. I want to share with you guys things that I've done wrong so that you can learn from my mistakes and realizations that I've had as this prep is coming towards an end. So let me bring this story together for you. Last year, I was at my strongest I've ever been. My squat, bench and deadlift were feeling unreal and I was buzzing to compete. I couldn't wait to express all the strength that I'd built up over a full 12-week prep for this powerlifting competition. I hired a coach, I trained 4 times a week, rested outside of that. I was the heaviest I've been, I was the most fed I've been, and I'd focused all my efforts into powerlifting alongside my day-to-day job. I was a proper powerlifter. So when it come to comp day, I had my lifetime best performance. I hit my lifetime goals. I hit a 250 kilo squat, 160 kilo bench press, and a 300 kilo deadlift. So I ticked off the massive boxes for me, which were the squat and the deadlift. They were my lifetime goals. But this is where it's gone wrong. This whole year, I transitioned into doing some weightlifting at the start of the year. Then I got really into triathlon training. And I started blending strength training with my triathlon training and finding that hybrid style approach to my training. And I really enjoyed it. I was really enjoying kind of sucking at endurance and sucking at triathlon in particular, especially swimming, and trying to get better. So I had a couple of races that I competed in. I learned a lot of lessons. And if you haven't had a chance to check out my video where I broke down the 6 lessons that I learned from my races, you can see that here. But let's now bring it to the present. So after a year worth of kind of on and off training for strength and mainly focused on endurance, I set myself with some big goals for the new year, some big endurance-based goals. And I thought, you know what, why not throw a powerlifting competition in the mix? I normally do a competition every December. I have 2 clients and friends doing the competition too, so I thought I'm going to join in with them. I'll have 10 weeks of prep, get me nice and strong, and then I can focus on the endurance into the new year. Now we're 9 weeks into a 10-week prep with 1 week left, and I've had some massive learnings that I want to share with you guys right now. So the first lesson is going to be set a proper goal that you want to achieve. Now this sounds really obvious, but for me, I knew I wanted to compete. That was it. I said I want to compete in a powerlifting competition. I didn't give myself any targets to hit, so I didn't really have any accountability to achieve a certain total. And what that's done is, over this prep, I've decided to drop out strength sessions because I didn't want them to affect my endurance sessions. Now this isn't a problem in the big picture, but what this has then done is take away from my main goal, which was the powerlifting competition this side of the year. So because I didn't set a proper goal to work towards to the end of this year, beyond just to compete, I've not made myself accountable to myself. And when I step on stage, I know I haven't put in all the work that I should have. So what I should have done is understand what is success to me now. I would have had to find a new definition of success. Is it a certain aesthetic? Is it a certain amount of weight to hit? Is it a measure of fitness? And then what I can do is from there, I can create some realistic goals based on who I am right now, what I have potential for based on my current performances, and what does a win look like when I compete. So by not having a set target to hit at this competition and just thinking I want to hit somewhere near my old numbers, there was nothing there to really hold me accountable. So that leads us nicely into point number 2. Understand your priority. Now, as a hybrid athlete, you need to understand what is the goal that you're trying to work towards. Is it currently a strength-based goal or is it more of an endurance-based goal? Understanding which one is the priority means we're going to know what dials we need to turn up and which ones we're going to need to turn down and kind of just put on maintenance. So in hindsight, being very honest with myself, I've realized that strength was not my priority and endurance stayed lingering there because it was something I really wanted to improve upon. I wanted to get fitter, I wanted to get better at running, I wanted to get better on the bike, I wanted to improve my swimming technique, and I wanted to just maintain my strength along the way. So rather than what I should have done, which is add some aerobic training into a powerlifting prep, I added some powerlifting into an aerobic program. So I got my priorities on paper mixed up there. Now the reason I say on paper is because it's not necessarily wrong. Deep down, I clearly want to improve upon my endurance training rather than my strength. Because I've achieved my lifetime goals, there wasn't that drive, there wasn't that passion that I always have to lift the heaviest thing possible. But where I was lacking so much endurance, I have a really clear path of what I want to achieve and how I'm going to achieve it. I've got races in the diary for next year, so I've got clear measures for the whole year of progress ahead. So as I said, this isn't necessarily a problem. What this then means is when it comes to game day, I know I'm not going to be able to hit numbers that I would have hit if I really put all my effort in and I prioritize this powerlifting prep. Because let's be honest, 2 times a week strength training probably isn't sufficient training to really get you as strong as possible while doing a bunch of triathlon training. Now, following on from point number 2, point number 3 is who or what are you comparing yourself to? We want to be comparing apples with apples. So I cannot compare myself at this powerlifting competition to last powerlifting competition because I'm 10 kilos lighter, I'm fitter than I was, I've done less powerlifting specific training. So I need to set a new standard of what is strength and what does strength mean to me right now. I've done this in the past before where I still have this vision of what an aesthetic physique looks like when I competed in a bodybuilding show. When I competed in a bodybuilding competition, I got down to the leanest I've ever been. And ever since then, I've always had this comparison. I've always think I'm just not that lean because I've always got that physique in my mind that that's my comparison. Now there are so many factors why I should not be comparing myself to them. Not only was I younger, it was my only priority at the time. I had less stress, less hair. So it's not a true comparison to that peaked moment of my life. And that goes the same with this powerlifting prep. I cannot compare myself to last year's numbers because I'm a very different individual this year. Now, should I not use past performances as a measure? Well, yes, I should. But what I should probably use it more as is inspiration and think, look at what I can achieve. So if you do compare yourself to a previous self, make sure you're comparing apples with apples. If I was to compete again next year in a powerlifting competition and I had a very endurance-based year, then it'd be closer to comparing a very similar situation on both. Whereas because I wasn't doing any of this last year, it's not going to be comparing the same with each other. So I cannot expect the same or similar results. So point number 4 is, have you done the work? How do you know? Did you have a plan? Did you hire a coach? Did you stick to it? What's important is whether you've got a race coming up or you're going to be stepping onto a platform like I am and competing in powerlifting. When you step onto that start line or that platform, you need to ask yourself, have I done the work? If you know you've done everything in your power to meet all the requirement of bringing your best package to that performance, then you're sweet. But if you haven't, you cannot be disappointed at the results for the work you didn't put in. Now, obviously my ego is going to take a massive battering at this competition because I'm not going to be as strong as I was at my last competition. But deep down, I know I didn't do that work. So I cannot expect the results that I didn't do the work for. Now, what's important is then once you've got to your competition, whether it's that race or you're stepping onto the platform, and you've asked yourself that question of, did I do enough? If you haven't, ask yourself, how could I have done better? For me, I could have improved by focusing more on that strength training. I could have stuck to the 4 sessions that I planned out for both of my clients. I was following the same program. I just chose to prioritize my endurance work and add in the strength training on top of that, rather than giving the priority of powerlifting the proper focus it deserved. So in all honesty, I just wanted to really keep building that endurance and build my fitness rather than really building my strength, which I think leads nicely into my last point, point number 5, and that's, do you really want it? You have to ask yourself, why am I working towards this specific goal? Is it for me or is it for someone else? If it's a goal for you, it's an intrinsic goal, you're going to ask yourself, what does a win look like for me? What does progress look like? What would make me proud walking away from the competition thinking I've done the best that I can? It's for others that you are not going to last working towards these goals because you're not bought in. Whether it's worrying about what people on social media think of you, because in reality, no one really cares, and even if they do, it's going to be a fleeting thought where you feel you should work towards this goal. Now, if you're working towards this goal purely for yourself, you need to make sure you've got some clear guidelines and milestones along the way to tick off, knowing that you're getting closer to your goal. And that means when you get there, you know you've done everything you needed to achieve the best result possible that was within your control. For example, I know next year, when I do a couple of Ironman 70.3s, I've got a certain time that I want to complete it in, purely because it's based on what I've seen on social media and I've seen others do. Now, that's a really good driver, but that isn't really a true reflection of who I am and what I can achieve. So what I need to do is get everything written down, understand what I want to achieve and how I can get to that goal. Just like any smart goal, you want to make sure it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. And what's really important is that first one, specific, because that is where, as I said in point 1, set a proper goal, because I could have then been specific with the numbers that I wanted to achieve at this competition, because I would have been able to look at where my strength currently was and what I wanted to do to achieve a certain number. Because I didn't have that specificity, it meant my goals were too airy-fairy, which meant I wasn't bought into them, which meant I wasn't able to bring the best that I possibly could this weekend. This video has seemed like it's been a massive just reason why I've underperformed, and it kind of is, but I want to give you guys these nuggets that I've come up with because I've realized I've done it wrong, and I want to make sure you guys don't make the same mistakes that I've done. And you can hopefully learn from it and get more out of your training rather than kind of doing a half-assed prep and not really getting anything out of it. So just like I said, we need to set a plan that we know we can stick to, and then we need to stick to it. Now, if life gets in the way and things need to change, change it. But then understand your expectations of what might happen when it comes to your game day might have to change as well. Anyway, we're 1 week out from this powerlifting competition. I'm feeling pretty good despite what this video might have sounded like. I've hit some decent top weights in my peak week this week. I've hit a 230 kilo squat, a 150 kilo bench, and a 240 kilo deadlift. So we're gonna have to see what I can do when it comes to comp day. I'm gonna bring you guys along for the journey. So be sure to look out for that video coming very soon. Let's see what this new hybrid athlete can achieve on game day. Now, I hope some of these lessons have resonated with you and hopefully you can learn from my mistakes. If you did find any of these lessons helpful, I would love to hear about it in the comment section down below. If you feel that some of these lessons have maybe helped you adjust your goals for the new year, or maybe made yourself more accountable by giving yourself some specific targets to achieve, I would love to hear in the comment section down below. What are your 2024 goals? What are you working towards? Now, if these lessons did help you, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. And if you want to come along for the journey, see how I do in the powerlifting competition and see what I've got planned in 2024, don't forget to subscribe. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video.